Today, I'm going to show you some of the special sauces and spices you need to add to your blues melodies to make them sound down and dirty. At the end of this video, I'm also going to show you some more advanced special techniques that you've probably never heard of. So let's start off with some simple step-by-step instructions to make your blues sound pro. The first thing we need is a blues melody, and there is no better blues melody to start off with than the Thelonious Monk classic, Blue Monk. So this is what it sounds like when I play it pretty bare bones. When I play it like that, it sounds pretty good, but it is definitely bland. It needs some seasoning, it needs some spices, it needs some blues sauce. When it comes to the blues, the first thing you want to think about is the actual style of the swing eighth notes. When you're playing the blues, most of the time it's going to have this spinning sound that kind of sounds like a train, like the wheels of a train going around. Unka chaka, unka chaka, unka chaka. So it's like a regular swing style, just way more over-exaggerated. This is what it sounds like. Do you hear how much more over-exaggerated that is than a regular swing style? When you get that spinning sound in there, it just sounds dirtier, sounds bluesier, sounds great. From there, your next step is playing with the time a little bit. By that, I mean getting behind the beat some. So instead of playing everything perfectly in time, you're going to kind of lean back on some notes and really draw them out. This is what it sounds like. So I was still playing in time, but I just got behind the beat so that it had a dragging feel to it. That brings out more of that blues flavor. We need that blues flavor. Now that we've got the basic feel down, the next thing we're going to do is make it sound a lot more interesting by playing varied articulations. So you're going to dot some notes, you're going to slur some notes, you're going to tongue some notes. You're just going to do some stuff with the articulation so that it doesn't sound so monotonous of just a regular old swing style. As you can hear, I'm using some slurs, some tongues, some dots, some dops, which is what I call marcatos, the ones that look like that, flat quarter notes. I'm just doing all different kinds of stuff to give it a little extra flavor. Now, I'm not overdoing it, but I am definitely using enough different articulations that that the melody doesn't just sit there. So I'm going to play it a couple different ways just so you can hear it. I suggest when you work on your next blues melody to play a phrase 5 or 6 different ways, articulating it 5 or 6 different ways, and seeing which one fits the sound that you're going for the best. When I change up my articulations, I'm making different notes sound more important. So find the notes that sound the best to you, make those more important by using varied articulations. The next thing we're going to talk about is the use of vibrato. This is really important when it comes to shaping the musical phrase. So with vibrato, we have two basic variables. The first is how fast you play the vibrato, and the second is the dynamic level. So if you're trying to push the melody forward a little bit, you're going to speed up your vibrato. You're going to start it slow and then speed it up. Oftentimes you're going to get a little bit louder there as well. If you're trying to bring the phrase to an end, you're going to start your vibrato a little faster and then slow it down and bring your dynamic level down. It's very subtle, but it's really going to help you shape your phrases. Listen to how I use the speed of my vibrato as well as the dynamics to shape this phrase. Do you hear how the vibrato is shaping that phrase? It's really important. Now would be a great time to subscribe to the channel, give me a thumbs up, and click that bell for notifications. Subscriber count and comments really make a big difference in promoting videos, so any new subscribers, any comments are very much appreciated. Now we get to add on some decorations, and by decorations, of course, I mean embellishments. For the saxophone, when we're talking about embellishments, we're talking about scoops, we're talking about falls, we're talking about turns, all that kind of stuff that is going to make your melody kind of slide from one note to the next. When it comes to scooping on the saxophone, you don't want to overdo it, but when you're playing the blues, you do get a little bit more leeway. So I'm going to give you a couple of examples of my scoops, then we'll talk about the falls, and then we'll talk about the turns. That is a more subtle scoop. Here comes something a lot more dramatic. Long scoop. So there I'm starting on a G and falling down chromatically to the D. On this B, I'm playing a B now, I'm going to turn, I'm going to play B, C sharp, B, and land on a B flat. So let me put it all together for you. The use of embellishments are complete game changers when it comes to personalizing your melodies. If you're enjoying this video and you want to go way deeper into phrasing melodies or learning about improv, chord changes, basic saxophone techniques, any of that kind of stuff, I'd like to invite you to check out my sax school. In my sax school, I have step-by-step lessons on just about anything you want to work on in the saxophone world. So if that sounds like something you're interested in checking out, I'll put a link to my sax school in the description below. For this last section, as promised, I'm going to show you some different ways to change the timbre or sound of your notes. The first is very common, and that is adding in some growls. That works really well on blues songs. Growls can really go a long way, and as saxophone players, we love playing growls. Now here are a couple different ways to change the sound of a note that you probably have not heard of before. The first is what I call a flutter. A flutter is kind of like a trill, but with a higher, with a larger interval, and oftentimes with a false fingering. So for this first flutter, I'm going to do it on a G. So this is what it would look like if I was going to trill from a G to an A. Now listen to it in context. that sounds okay, but if I do a flutter instead, it's going to sound way better. So for a flutter, you're going to use a different type of fingering that's going to give you a larger interval. So the first thing I'm going to do, the first example, I'm going to lift my front finger. I'm going to play a G and lift the B key. So that gives me a trill that's a higher interval, a larger interval, but gives me a really different sound. Now, you can also use your side keys. That last one doesn't sound very good, but experimentation is the best way to find different kinds of flutters. So take a listen as I play this song, adding in some flutters and some growls. I'm going to keep the camera on my fingers because the next thing I'm going to show you is called a stutter step. So that is when you put a false fingering in between each of the notes you're going to play to make it sound like you're stuttering. It's a very subtle effect, but it sounds great. So for this, in the melody, I'm playing E, F, F sharp, G. So what I'm going to do is in between each note, I'm going to lift this finger, like right before I play the note. Let me do it again. So in slow motion, this is what I'm doing. So what I'm doing is just lifting this finger to give me a little bit of a stutter in the sound. In context. So those are some really specific ideas of what you can do to add different timbres or, of course, sounds to your notes. Here is an example of me playing the entire melody to Blue Monk. Thanks for taking the time to check out this video. If you'd like to dive deeper into my saxophone world, come check me out at the Scott Paddock Sax School.